Hi, my name is Monophobicmutt, or Pepper, and this is my video. Okay, to start off, I want to add that I thought I hit record when I did the original shapes into the mock-up background. The first step I do for any drawing is to start with the shapes for the character that I'm drawing. The shapes are for the torso, joints, arms, and whatnot. This helps me with my anatomy when I go to sketch. When I sketch, I try to make it as close to what I want the line art to look like as possible. Sometimes I have to sketch more than once to get it to look right. Other times it's just once, but it really just depends. This time I sketched once and was able to move it to the line art stage. When I go to line art, I like to put some color behind it so that I can see the sketch underneath it easier. Also, a lot of times I'd like to draw one side of the body, head, whatever, and then copy and paste it and flip it so I can make it symmetrical. After I did the line art of the body, I did the clothes over it. I did not do this with all clothes, but it makes it easier for me with the anatomy and to make the clothes look more realistic, so they aren't so skin tight to the body of the character. After I finish the line art, I select outside the character and make sure that I have it all selected. I usually have to go in and hand paint the little areas that the selection tool couldn't get, like fur tufts, and then I fill it in. After that I use Preserve Opacity, which locks the layer so that you can only color within what you've selected. I left this layer which is a solid white, which is the character's base color, so that I can move on to shading. After I had the base color, I go to shading. I was taught to select a color from the environment that the character is in the shade with, so I picked a green and made a solid green layer with it. Then to add my light, I started erasing where there would be light on the character. Because the fire is behind the character, the light would be around him and his inner torso would be darker. Then I take a darker shade of green and add the shadows. I also use the shadows to add texture to his headdress. Then I blended it all in, both the lighting and the shadows, to make it look neater. After I shade, I color in the character and his clothes. I hide the character layers and then I start on the background. When you want to get off that darkest ground. I made a base color for the grass and then started adding different little marks of color to make grass blades. Once I got one area done, I copied and pasted it and then did some slight blending and added another color and added in random areas to break up the pattern. Then I make another layer underneath the grass and start painting my mountains. I make them by adding darker and lighter shades of the base color. These mountains were done in 3 layers. Underneath the mountains I did the sunset, which is a couple of different colors blended together. I made a layer underneath the grass but above the mountains and make the general tree shape and start to add lighter and darker browns to make it look like the bark on the tree. And then I add little leaf bundles and just add some lighter and darker shades of green and some other leaf shapes to give it some texture. And then I copy and paste them and move them behind one another, in front of one another, and flip some to give them the woods effect. I add a layer of blue over the whole picture to give it a blue tint. I start adding the final touches to things, like making the fire pit and the fire using similar techniques as the other background elements. I decided to add some bushes to complete the look. I added a layer of white over the fire and applied the luminosity effect to make it bright. I also went back into the blue overlay layer and erased around where the fire was to make the fire even brighter. And then I add a little bit of darker blue to the top to make it more shadowy. To complete off the picture, I add my watermark to the picture and save.